If you feel like the truth is being kept from us, know that you're not alone. I'm Detective Ozma, and my mission is to dig up the evidence behind the mysteries they want to bury. Today, I'm opening a file that became one of the most studied cases in UFO history, not because of dramatic claims, but because of what happened after an ordinary night drive refused to stay ordinary. In September of 1961, a married couple was returning home through a quiet stretch of highway in New Hampshire when they noticed a bright light moving irregularly across the sky. At first, it seemed distant and harmless, something that could easily be explained away as a plane or a star. But as the minutes passed, the object shifted direction, descended, and began approaching in ways that didn't fit any familiar pattern. They made it home safely. But the timeline didn't. The drive should have taken roughly 4 hours. It took nearly 7. And when they stepped inside their house, small details began to surface, details that didn't match their memory of the night. Over time, those details would transform a routine road trip into one of the most debated cases in modern UFO history. When I opened the case file, the structure became clear. Evidence 1, the initial sighting. On the night of September 19, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving south along Route 3. Around 10:30 p.m., near Groveton, Betty observed a bright light near the moon and Jupiter that appeared to move in an unusual way. They stopped to observe it more closely. Through binoculars, Betty later described a structured craft with colored lights. Barney initially believed it was likely an aircraft. However, in their account, the object seemed to follow their car and at times descend closer to the road. Near Indian Head, Barney later stated that the object moved rapidly toward them and hovered ahead of the vehicle, prompting him to brake. He exited the car and, according to his testimony, saw several humanoid figures observing him from inside the craft. Frightened, he returned to the car and drove away. Evidence 2, the sounds and the missing time. According to their later recollections, shortly after driving away, they began hearing buzzing or beeping sounds. They described the car as vibrating and reported a tingling sensation followed by unusual drowsiness. Their memory becomes unclear at this point. The next clear moment they recalled was finding themselves much farther down the road near Concord, New Hampshire. The trip had taken nearly 7 hours instead of the expected 4. Approximately 2 hours were unaccounted for. This measurable gap, not just a feeling, but a calculable discrepancy, became one of the central pillars of the case. Evidence 3, the physical aftermath. In subsequent interviews, the Hills described arriving home feeling unsettled. They reported that both watches had stopped and never worked again. Barney's binocular strap was torn. Betty's dress, as she later recounted, was ripped and carried a pinkish residue that underwent laboratory analysis without definitive identification. They also reported circular, shiny marks on the trunk of their car. In demonstrations years later, they claimed that a compass needle reacted erratically near those areas. Individually, none of these elements confirmed anything extraordinary. Collectively, they reinforced the couple's belief that something significant had occurred during the missing time. Evidence 4, the official conclusion. Betty reported the sighting to a nearby Air Force base. The case was logged under Project Blue Book. After review, the official conclusion stated that the object was most likely Jupiter misidentified under unusual viewing conditions. From a military standpoint, the case was considered resolved. Notably, at that stage, the more extraordinary claims had not yet been fully explored in official documentation. Evidence 5, the hypnosis sessions. Still disturbed by the missing time and recurring distress, the couple later sought psychiatric help. In 1964, Dr. Benjamin Simon conducted separate hypnosis sessions with Betty and Barney over several months. Under regression, both described being stopped on a dirt road, led into a disc-shaped craft, and subjected to medical examinations in separate rooms. These accounts were given independently, and while they shared notable similarities, Dr. Simon did not interpret them as confirmation of alien contact. Instead, he suggested that the memories could have been shaped by stress, vivid dreams, and the suggestibility associated with hypnosis. From a clinical standpoint, the treatment reduced their anxiety and nightmares, regardless of how the memories are interpreted. Evidence 6, the star map. During one hypnotic session, Betty described being shown a map of stars connected by lines. Afterward, she drew the configuration from memory. Years later, an independent researcher proposed that the drawing resembled the binary star system Zeta Reticuli. Supporters viewed this as a striking correlation. Critics argued that pattern recognition and retrospective interpretation could explain the perceived similarity. The drawing remains one of the most debated elements of the case. Conclusion. As I go through this file, two main interpretations emerge. The first is the official and psychological explanation. The Hills may have misidentified a celestial object, experienced fear and disorientation, and later constructed a coherent narrative through dreams and hypnosis. In this view, the abduction account represents a sincerely held but psychologically formed memory influenced by stress and suggestion. The second interpretation holds that the Hills encountered something genuinely unexplained. The missing time, the physical anomalies they described, and the emotional intensity observed during therapy are seen not as inventions, but as indicators of an event beyond conventional understanding. Some who support this perspective argue that the official explanation addressed the sighting, but not the broader chain of events. The case of Betty and Barney Hill remains suspended between these interpretations. There is no definitive proof of extraterrestrial involvement, yet there is also no single explanation that resolves every element without leaving tension behind. I'm Detective Ozma, and I'll keep gathering every fragment, every voice, every piece of evidence they try to erase. Many stories get buried, but never forever. If you, or someone you know, has ever witnessed something unexplainable, leave your story in the comments. Or, if you'd rather stay anonymous, send it to the email pinned in the comments. Who knows, maybe the next file I open will be yours.